You keep disappearing, not because you hate people, not because you are broken, but because every time you step into the noise, you feel yourself thinning, like a blade losing its edge on dull stone. You laugh at the right moments, nod at the predictable opinions, go through the choreography of small talk, and walk away strangely empty. If that sentence stings, it is because you have suspected a truth that very few will say out loud. Your need for distance is not a defect. It is a form of protection. And, if you wield it wisely, a form of power. Let us name what you have felt, clearly. You do not avoid social life because you are antisocial. You avoid it because your attention is finite, and your attention is your life. Arthur Schopenhauer called noise the torture of the intellect, not as a complaint from a grump, but as a warning from a craftsman. He believed the mind, like any delicate instrument, requires calm air to hold a precise note. In crowded rooms, that note dissolves. In constant chatter, meaning evaporates. You are not fragile, you are tuned. But here is the uncomfortable part. Solitude is not automatically noble. It can be the refuge of the coward as easily as the workshop of the maker. Schopenhauer wrote that solitude is the privilege of strong minds, yes, but a privilege implies responsibility. If you retreat only to avoid the friction of reality, your quiet becomes a padded cell. If you retreat to face yourself without the mask, to wrestle with your desires and your fear, your quiet becomes a forge. Pause. Ask yourself, when you turn off the lights and pull back from the crowd, what exactly are you protecting? Your energy, your focus, or a story about yourself you do not want challenged? Intelligent people often sense the trap of groupthink sooner. They feel the gravitational pull of consensus and instinctively resist. That resistance is healthy, yet beneath it can hide a subtler fear, the fear of being seen trying. In the crowd, cleverness becomes performance. In solitude, cleverness must become work. One is applause, the other is accountability. Schopenhauer's core idea can help you separate the two. He believed the world presents itself in two registers, as representation, the way things appear to us, and as will, the blind drive pulsing beneath everything. When you step into social life, you are flooded with representations, faces, signals, invitations to belong. The will, underneath, pushes for status, approval, safety. If you do not see that push, you will mistake the room for reality and spend your hours trading your edge for acceptance. If you see it, you can choose. You can walk away, not out of contempt, but out of lucidity. Consider the porcupine's problem, the parable Schopenhauer loved. On a freezing night, porcupines huddle for warmth, only to prick each other and recule. They lean back in, then withdraw again, until they find a distance that warms without wounding. The lesson is not stay alone. It is find the right distance. Intelligent people sense that distance more acutely. They are allergic to the shallow heat of forced closeness and the cold of total isolation. They want the precise measure that allows truth to survive contact. But there is something else you have likely noticed. When you choose solitude, time changes texture. The day no longer breaks into notifications. It opens like a field. Your thinking deepens. You revisit an idea not once but 5 times, turning it in the light. The mind stops sprinting and starts carving. This is not romanticism. It is discipline. Most people use people to regulate their moods. They feel better by dissolving into a crowd's rhythm. You regulate your mind by stepping out of that rhythm, not because you are superior, but because you are building something that cannot be built while you are always available. Still, a twist. Solitude can become vanity in disguise. You know the pose, the cultivated outsider, sipping cynicism like a rare tea. Schopenhauer himself could be severe, even caustic. He saw stupidity, cruelty, and noise everywhere, and he was not wrong to name them. But if you imitate only his rejection, you miss his deeper ethic, compassion. Yes, compassion, from the same thinker often accused of pessimism. When you recognize the will, the turbulent, unchosen drives in yourself, you recognize it in others. You see how much of human behavior is pushed from beneath, not argued from above. That recognition does not excuse malice. It explains suffering, and it softens judgment. So the aim is not to avoid social life entirely. The aim is to enter it without losing yourself, to give without dissolving, to listen without absorbing, to speak without performing, to hold a boundary without hardening into bitterness. How? A few guiding moves, drawn from Schopenhauer's realism and refined by practical psychology. First, treat your attention like a scarce resource. If a conversation costs clarity, it is expensive. If a relationship costs self-respect, it is ruinous. You are allowed to close the tab. Second, prefer depth over density. 10 minutes of honest talk will nourish you more than 2 hours of drift. Choose the few who ask better questions over the many who demand constant answers. Third, do not confuse audience with intimacy. The crowd can give applause, not understanding. The algorithm rewards noise, not nuance. Your most important thoughts will be born off stage. Fourth, practice deliberate friction. The risk of solitude is comfort. The antidote is challenge. Read arguments that displease you. State your ideas in rough drafts and let reality revise them. Make something that could fail. This is the difference between hiding and building. Fifth, find your just right distance. Like the porcupines, you will move in and out. Expect it. The right boundary is dynamic, not permanent. Solitude is a tool, not an identity. You may object, but isn't this selfish? Isn't retreat abandoning the world? It depends on what you do with the silence. If you withdraw to polish a private mirror of self-importance, yes, that is selfish. If you withdraw to sharpen insight, strengthen virtue, and return with clearer words and steadier hands, that is contribution. The world does not need more presence. It needs better presence. Noise is abundant. Signal is rare. Another twist. Intelligent people can become addicted to explanation. We turn reality into a problem set and people into puzzles. But life is not merely to be understood. It is to be endured, shaped, and loved. Schopenhauer's recognition of suffering was not an invitation to mope. It was an invitation to mercy. Your intellect will not save you from pain. It will give you tools to arrange it, to frame it, to draw meaning from it. Compassion is not an enemy of clarity. It is its fruit. Now, the hardest admission. Sometimes you avoid social life not because it is loud, but because your inner life is louder than you can bear. In the quiet, your unfinished work knocks. The book you have not written, the business you have not started, the broken promise you made to yourself, the loneliness you hide under productivity. Silence removes the alibi. It leaves you face to face with the will inside you. This is why many seek endless company. It is easier than meeting oneself. If that is you, name it, then use it. Turn avoidance into approach. Give your solitude a spine by choosing a difficult, specific project that forces you to organize your mind. Not to impress a circle, not to perform for an algorithm, but to build an inner architecture of attention and integrity. Routine is not the enemy of genius. Distraction is. Craft a daily window where your phone is out of reach, your door is closed, and your mind is directed. This is how you transform retreat into momentum. And when you do choose to connect, choose with intention. Seek people who respect boundaries as acts of care, not insults. Seek conversations where disagreement is not a verdict on character, but a tool for truth. Seek communities that honor the craft of thinking, not the theater of it. You will not find many. You do not need many. Here is the final inversion. The world will tell you that intelligent people avoid social life because they are cold. The deeper truth is often the opposite. They avoid social life because they care too much about what conversation could be. They refuse to accept a counterfeit. They will not let the sacred work of attention be squandered on frictionless noise. They step away to preserve the conditions under which honesty becomes possible. So, If you keep disappearing, do not apologize for the instinct. Refine it, test it, give it purpose. Let your solitude be the place where you stop performing and start building, where you trade visibility for vision, where you pick up the heavy hammer of concentration and learn to swing it without flinching. You will still feel misunderstood. You will still be called distant, difficult, intense. Let it be. Porcupines cannot survive by pleasing the cold. They survive by finding the distance that makes warmth possible. One last thought to carry with you when the room gets loud. Attention is a vow. Every day you are promising your life to something. A feed, a face, a fear. Choose carefully. The crowd will not protect your edge. The crowd will not keep your promises. Only you can do that, patiently, privately, persistently. Walk away when you must. Return when you can add weight, not just heat. Let your quiet sharpen you until your words are not many, but necessary. In a world obsessed with being seen, dare to be clear. In a time addicted to noise, dare to be precise. And when they ask where you went, you can tell them the truth. I did not disappear. I was working where it mattered, in the one place where the world cannot shout over me.